All right, happy Friday. Welcome back to the Marketing Qualified Rundown. Fridays are for Nick, and I have here, of course, back like a bad habit, Chris.
Welcome from the parking lot of my kids' soccer camp.
All right, so we got two things we're going to talk about today: why your price isn't always the problem, and anti-testimonials, which is interesting. Okay, so why price isn't always the problem? So, I think the assumption is that all the time, like, price is the main driver, and buyers, especially B2B, they're terrified of high prices when they buy things. That's not really true, right?
Well, I think everyone who's in B2B will always say that people will pay for value.
Yeah, they're worried about the high regret.
The high regret.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, the feeling of getting more than you're paying for, right? And the word that I like to hone in on there is feeling. It's the feeling that I'm getting, my money's worth, so to speak.
Yeah. So as an example, this is the calculation: expected frequency of use divided by the perceived risk of regret equals your willingness to buy. So it's the feeling. Are you going to feel like, oh, damn, that's not really worth the time, right?
Yeah, and I guess let's translate expected frequency of use. In a SaaS product, that is how often you're using that product, right? Well, translate that into the services, Nick. So, how does this equation work in a services environment?
Yeah, it's a great point. So, how often are you going to be working with, if it's service, how often are you going to be using that service? Are you going to use it every day, every week, every month? A SaaS product, are you going to use it? Yeah, same thing. Every week, every day, every month. Like, what's that frequency of use versus like, well, if I don't do it, it's okay, right? Versus the amount of money I'm paying. So a couple ways to do this, a couple ways to think through this is, one, how to improve that ratio is really showing high frequency, right? So don't just, hey, great reporting. You could say every Monday morning, 100 marketing teams use this to prepare for their executive meeting, right? So like you're trying to show frequency of use in this, like really get that across, whether it be a SaaS product or a service offering.
Or you're trying to make it relatable of how it can be used in the most efficient way.
Right. And that's obviously a challenge for a lot of people. So the other piece is de-risking the outcome. So how do you de-risk it? We obviously do a lot of case studies and testimonials here, but how do you make it so that it's not just a generic vague thing? It's actually something that's polished, something that is very specific that relates to them. So they get the value and have a feeling that it's going to what's going to work for them.
Yeah, that's why every time you build a website, everyone's like, we want to put customer testimonials on it. That's why in our business, we are always pushing people to make sure they have case studies. You can't beat those two strategies. You can't beat them.
You can't.
It's the easiest and quickest way to make something very relatable and very impactful very quickly.
Yeah, the other option to help with this ratio is bundling for habit. So by nature, humans are habitual people. We like things, so we like routine. So how can you get, when you're selling, this is a lot of people, which drives me nuts on LinkedIn, here's this one thing or this like one-time use, instead of trying to position it as, I can use this every day. Now I can give me a tip or a prompt or a tool or a template I can use daily, weekly, monthly. Frame it on the routine versus it's just a one-time thing and I'm done. I'm never going to use it again. Obviously,
well, you also don't want to be a one-hit wonder, right? You don't want to position your product, solution, service as it just fixes this one specific thing. We're doing a monthly checkup of all of this stuff, as an example, versus we're doing a monthly checkup on your email deliverability.
Right. It's why honestly newsletters are so good, right? Because it's a habit, it's a routine that you're creating for your customers, for your prospects, so that they're constantly seeing and reminding them of who you are. So it's a routine. All right, so the fourth one, the last one of how to improve this ratio is around writing regret-proof CTAs. So calls to action. What is a regret-proof CTA?
Well, let's relate that to EOS, Nick. Yeah, I know we got a lot of EOS people that follow us, so translate that into the EOS words.
Yeah, I think this is where in the EOS vernacular, it's a guarantee, right? Like at the end of the day, the EOS mantra is offer a guarantee that is really something that a prospect, a customer can sink their teeth into, right? Not just a generic something.
You got to make it easy for them to commit, whatever that commit is. You got to make it easy for them to buy. You got to make it easy for them to engage, and you have to de-risk that with some type of offer. I mean, we use, in our case, we have a 30-day money-back guarantee. You don't like our stuff, then, we send your money back and you go your way, we go our way.
Yeah, I think so. That the key is, but make it specific. Don't make it generic. Like the true, have some teeth in it. All right, so those are the 4 ways you can improve that ratio of the willingness to buy. All right, the other thing we wanted to hit real quick is the anti-testimonial. So this is a funny, we'll show you the example here. This is from ClickUp. So our product roadmap was constantly derailed because we couldn't align our teams, right? So this is, it's the anti view, right? It's not trying to say what positive happened. It's actually saying the negative of what happened. And obviously, the whole idea is not a ClickUp customer. So I think that positioning of, instead of trying to always show here's what you're going to get out of it, it's really going to the pain. It's the anti-testimonial.
Yeah, I mean, it's I love it, and I think you can take any kind of ad or marketing tactic and just reword it to kind of fit this. But it's definitely a creative way of getting eyes to look at your message.
Yeah, I think it actually plays with the original conversation too, around emotion and feeling. This is a feeling, not just this is just the solution we have. So focus on the feeling. All right, so that is the anti-testimonial. And last but not least, we're keeping it short on a Friday, is the our meme of the week.
This one we we live this day in and day out. Launch a campaign, and we, and even if the campaign wasn't even meant for leads, it's like, what's the revenue? What kind of leads are we generating? Let's use our real life example of that. Sometimes we'll get hired to build a case study, and so we'll build the case study. And then they'll ask us, what is our expected ROI of the case study that we write for them? Well, I mean, I don't dictate how you're going to use it. It's how you're going to use it is going to end up generating the ROI and revenue and any leads that might come from it. But it's I guess what the learning here, Nick, is like, make sure you understand what the purpose of each of your campaign elements are meant to do. Yeah,
and communicate that across the board. Obviously, maybe they don't remember, but it's always good to keep communicating to your team what the scorecard. What's the goal? What are you trying to achieve?
So yeah, and I'd also challenge people to start measuring what leads up to, in this case, revenue or leads or demos. What is something you can measure way before that to see if the campaign is actually working? Because if you're looking too far down, then you're going to start chasing. What you end up going to doing is just redoing a brand new campaign from scratch versus tuning the campaign to make it work.
For sure. All right, guys, that is the marketing rundown for Friday afternoon. Have a great weekend, and we will see you next week.
Thank you.